Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Dalescenter NASCAR Betting Preview for Bristol Motor Speedway, the Bass Pro Night Race weekend. On Saturday night, the Cup Series runs 500 laps and will eliminate 4 drivers in the NASCAR Cup Series playoffs. We also have the Xfinity Series, aka the Superior Racing Series in NASCAR on Friday night. And then Thursday night, if you catch this in time, Truck Night in America with the Craftsman Truck Series. Who doesn't love a Thursday night race? It's good to be back, and I love Chris Buescher more than just about anything on planet Earth. If you watched the program last week, you got advice to take Chris Buescher 50-1 outright, 6.5 to 1 top 5, and plus money. I think it was plus 110 for a top 10. So Chris Buescher, we love him so much. I hit 80-1 at Richmond last year because of him, and 50-1 at Watkins Glen because of him. Madman. I love Chris Buescher more than anything. Hopefully you do too. But it's a new week, and we got to keep the momentum rolling at Bristol Motor Speedway. Thunder Valley, the last great Coliseum, has been kind of hot and cold for me over the years. In all 3 series, really. I feel like it's been a little easier for trucks. Christian Eckes, McAnally has been really, really good on the short tracks. Their short track program has been awesome. Xfinity, hot and cold all the time. And Cup has gone from pretty predictable last year at Bristol to extremely unpredictable in the spring, yet you get the same winner. So a lot of elements we're going to break down for the Cup race. But first, let's start with the Craftsman Truck Series. As we talked about, Truck Night in America on a Thursday night. I've got quite a few bets here that I like. The time that we're recording this is Thursday morning. We have odds on Bet Rivers, DraftKings, BetMGM, and Caesars, as far as I know. So a lot of people who are new to this always ask, where can I bet on trucks? At this time, and I think after qualifying too, you'll see odds on DraftKings, you'll see it on BetMGM, and you'll see it on Bet Rivers and Caesars. That's 4 sports books right there that you can use to access Truck Night in America bets. I don't use Caesars anymore. They're terrible with limits. They're very sketchy. But the other 3 books I use avidly as I'm able to bet on NASCAR. So keep an eye on all this because we get practice, we get qualifying, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock range. With football season, with baseball season entering the playoffs, you definitely see a fall off in, how the sports books pay attention to the lower tier NASCAR series, especially with trucks, because trucks only runs on an average of once every 3 to 4 weeks. I mean, we get big breaks in trucks. I think that kind of hurts the lifespan of their betting markets, being longer throughout the week. Plus, we get a Thursday race. You got Thursday night football tonight. It's a bad time. But I do think those books that I mentioned will have truck odds back up after practice and qualifying. I'm going to keep it pretty simple here. As I stated a few minutes ago, McAnally and Christian Eckes, their short track program has been unbelievable since last year. Christian Eckes won this race earlier this year in the spring. I expect nothing different. Christian Eckes, on the bottom of your screen, you see odds. He's plus 180, heavy favorite. And I hate to say it, but I don't think that line's going to move much. They haven't only just been awesome in race trim, winning races, running top 3, running up front, leading laps, winning stages. They've been awesome in qualifying as well. So I expect Christian Eckes to qualify up front, and you're just not going to get a break. I don't think you're going to get a break here with Eckes on these lines. Now, Corey Heim, a guy that's run well at Bristol, has run second to Eckes before. Corey Heim, plus 370. If you can find him in that range, 4-1, I would bet that. The one positive we get with a Christian Eckes heavy favorite is that you're going to get some value on Corey Heim. You can make the argument that he's the best driver in the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series. It may not even be an argument. Well, we do have Connor Zilic racing tonight, so maybe not. But Corey Heim, we know, is primed to move up into the next round of the playoffs and into career-wise into the Xfinity Series as he progresses as a driver looking to get into Cup. He's already raced in Cup. He's raced a lot in Xfinity. Corey Heim, anytime you can get better than 3-1 on this guy in a truck race, I think you kind of got to take it. Now, one thing to consider with Corey Heim and Tricon Garage in general, they don't qualify super well. They're kind of like the sandbaggers of qualifying, right? They typically start between 10th and 20th almost every single week, whether it's Corey Heim, Taylor Gray. Tanner Gray has been the best, I feel like, in qualifying trim. Doesn't race nearly as well as Corey Heim and Taylor Gray do. So Corey Heim, maybe you get better than plus 370, 4-1 range, 4.5-1 range, depending on how qualifying goes. So keep an eye on that as well. Now, I'm going to tell you what I'm looking at on bets I'm going to put down before we get to practice and qualifying. I'm going to bet on Lane Riggs, 20-1. Lane Riggs, he won at the Milwaukee Mile. Great short track racer. This is what he's brought in for at Front Row, is to win and run well at short tracks. That's where he's been the most successful in his short stint with Front Row in that number 38 truck. I think regardless of where he qualifies, he'll be at the front at some point, running around the top 5, maybe contending for another win. Watch out for Lane Riggs. 20-1, I like that a lot for a guy that just won. It feels like it's been an eternity since he won, but he did win at Milwaukee Mile a few weeks ago. So keep an eye on Lane Riggs. 20-1, I think, is a good bet to start with. Caden Honeycutt. We've seen glimpses of excellence out of Caden Honeycutt in this number 45 Nice Motorsports Chevy. He's been awesome, and he has been knocking on the door of winning. He's had some bad moments. He's had some bad luck. But Caden Honeycutt, I think, is a true wheelman. He's got experience at Bristol. I'd keep an eye on the driver, the number 45. They could come out with a rocket ship and blow the field away. I mean, just be careful with Caden Honeycutt. 25-1. I feel like there's a FOMO here, right? Like, you don't want to miss out on a 25-1, 30-1 guy who could absolutely come out here and dominate. Now, it's going to be tough with Eckes. It's going to be tough with the McAnally and Corey Heim race trucks. But we saw Sam Mayer a few years ago as a 17-year-old. Maybe he was 16. Sam Mayer came out here at Bristol with very, very limited experience and won. We've seen some underdog upsets at Bristol over the years between all NASCAR National Series, most notably in trucks. I think about Sam Mayer a few years ago. It can happen. It can happen. Leaders have to deal with lap traffic. There could be accidents, chaos, calamity. That's what Bristol's all about. So I think there's potential for some underdog plays before we get to practice and qualifying and thereafter. So Cade Honeycutt, Lane Riggs. I feel like I'm beating a dead horse with this, but Taylor Gray. I talk about FOMO. I've been betting on him, waiting for him to get that first win all year long. He's been pretty good at short tracks. Little inconsistent for my liking as a bettor, but Taylor Gray's got to get that first win. As we talk about Corey Heim, Tricon has good race trucks. They don't qualify super well, but they race super well. When will Taylor Gray get that win? We're talking about the rumors of him getting into the NASCAR Xfinity Series next year. We got to knock down a win at some point. So keep an eye out on Taylor Gray in the number 17, 25-1 as well. I think could be worth a shot. And I'm going to take a stab at Corey Day. He's seen some pretty drastic line movement. He opened at 40-1 on DraftKings. He's now 22-1 on DraftKings Sportsbook. Best line for Corey Day, if you're a believer in his talent. He's a short track racing phenom. He's in a good truck. He's in the number 81. Guess what? That's a McAnally truck. McAnally, amazing in their short track program in 2024. That's a big deal. He could come out here and shock some people, as I said, with the Sam Mayer deal a few years ago. He could be that next guy. So Corey Day, I think, worth a shot. 33-1 currently is the best line, and that is on Bet Rivers for Corey Day in the Truck Series tonight. So that's kind of what I'm looking at on outrights. Top 3, going to think about a Caden Honeycutt. We'll see where he qualifies. If I can get 6-1 or better, might bet a Caden Honeycutt top 3. And then Corey Day, I was looking at a 10-1 top 3. If we'll see where he qualifies. I'm hoping that Corey Day actually won't qualify super well, and maybe we'll get a better line on him. If he is the phenom that everybody in the short track community says he is, if he doesn't qualify well, it doesn't mean it's the end of the world. He could work his way to the front in a really, really good race truck. So 10-1, 9-1 range, top 3 could be worth it for Corey Day as well. And then one head-to-head matchup I got to go with here. It's available on DraftKings. It's available on Bet Rivers. It's Matt Crafton head-to-head against Chase Purdy, minus 115. If you want a lock, this is a lock of the universe bet. First one of the weekend. Might be the only one of the weekend, but Matt Crafton head-to-head versus Chase Purdy. Matt Crafton has been great here. His better work in 2024 has been on short tracks. Hell, his better work since his last win back in 2019 at Kansas, I believe, has been on short tracks. And Chase Purdy, 4 starts here, 3 finishes of 30th or worse for Chase Purdy. Matt Crafton all day. Give me this head-to-head matchup. Matt Crafton finished 4th here in the spring. Love the idea of betting on Matt Crafton head-to-head over Chase Purdy. Also, Matt Crafton, DraftKings has top 5 lines. I saw 9-1 for a top 5. Could be worth it for a guy that scored a top 5 here earlier when we came to Bristol in the spring. So watch out for Matt Crafton. Could be a sneaky underdog play, but I love that head-to-head matchup. Minus 115, Matt Crafton over Chase Purdy. For the rest of my NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series betting card, and for everything betting related, if you want to see every single bet with specific unit allocations, join the Dalescenter NASCAR Discord. We've got over 1,250 members. Everything's free. All bets are free. There's nothing paid for. It's just a community for you to hang out and interact with a lot of other racing fans. We've got football, we've got baseball, basketball. The focus is racing and NASCAR in particular, but it's a big community that we're building in the Dalescenter NASCAR Discord, and you won't miss a bet if you're in it. So be sure to check that out. I might have more bets depending on how practice and qualifying goes for the Uno 200, the Craftsman Truck Series on Thursday night. So let's move on to the NASCAR Xfinity Series here. The Food City 300, Justin Allgaier is a plus 250 favorite. Once again, lines courtesy of DraftKings Sportsbook. It's crazy. Like, I typed out the name Earnhardt Jr. in the lines. Like, you're looking at it. You can bet on Dale Jr. Unbelievable. And this might be his last ever start. So betting, I'm probably going to keep to a bare minimum on the NASCAR Xfinity Series just to enjoy what could be Dale Earnhardt Jr.'s final start. If you want to bet on him, I've seen plus 850. I saw 12-1, I think, on Bet Rivers. BetMGM, Caesars, DraftKings all have lines for the Xfinity Series. And I'm missing somebody. Bet Rivers, DraftKings, BetMGM, Caesars. I don't think FanDuel had odds up yet, last time I checked. So you have options to find Xfinity Series. I'm sure Hard Rock, people that use Hard Rock, you could find lines there as well. But I'm probably going to keep it simple with Xfinity. Bet on a few underdogs, maybe a couple co-favorites. But I look at Sam Mayer. You know, if you can find 8-1 on a guy that has been really good at Bristol, hasn't always gotten the finishes. As I said earlier, won that truck race a few years ago to kind of catapult him into relevancy in NASCAR. Love Sam Mayer. Great short track racer. Junior Motorsports has been awesome here with Justin Allgaier. Dale Jr. had a good car here last year, as did Sam Mayer. I believe he was in an accident, but Sam Mayer could be a guy at his price. If you can find 8-1, 9-1 range, Sam Mayer could be worth a play, and that's what I'd love to begin with. Now, I want to see what happens in practice and qualifying for Xfinity, but I'm tempted. If you want to go more with the favorites, Cole Custer would be the guy. Cole Custer had an awesome car here last year. I think Cole Custer is the defending champion, won at Phoenix last year, kind of due for another win. I keep an eye on Cole Custer. Think he's going to practice well. Think he's going to qualify well. If you can get 4-1, 5-1, could be worth it if the books are going to say just stay so strict on Justin Allgaier's price as a super heavy favorite. Love JA. He's the man, but he just makes so many mistakes, has too many issues for me to ever bet 2-1. I've been there before. I remember I bet on him a few years ago here. Had the best car, led the most laps, sped on pit road on the final pit stop, lost. So defending winner of this race, yes. Going to be hard to imagine him going back-to-back, in my opinion. And certainly tough to bet at 2.5-1. So keep an eye on Cole Custer, Sam Mayer as co-favorites, you know, kind of in that top 6, top 7 driver range on the books. Like those two guys. And then I'm going to look at Josh Williams. Go back and watch this race last year. The number 11 car with Daniel Hemrick almost won this race. I mean, led a bunch of laps, holding up the leaders. Really, really good race out of that 11 team. What did Josh Williams get brought to Colleague to do? I'd say win a race on a short track. And it has not been a great year. They've been in a lot of accidents. They've had a lot of bad luck. They've had a lot of junk race cars, to be quite frank. But Josh Williams is a short track guy. I saw him tweet kind of hinting that he was going to be the upset winner to break into the playoffs. I like the confidence in the driver, the number 11. Can't fucking talk right now. Excuse me. But he's got a mullet like me. I like that. And I think with what Colleague has brought here in recent years, AJ Allmendinger won here in 2021. AJ's had good cars here over the years. And what Daniel Hemrick showed us last year, Colleague can bring a good car to Bristol. And if you look at Josh Williams, 30-1 top 5 on DraftKings Sportsbook, 70-1 top 3, 250-1 outright. You could put a sprinkle on all that, and it's not super sweaty. It's not a super sweaty guy to bet on because your risk is very, very low. So consider Josh Williams for an underdog play. I especially love that top 5 line, 30-1. You survive the chaos here. Who knows? Josh Williams could have a shot at it if the car is good. And based upon what we've seen with Colleague Racing over the years, they've brought pretty good cars to Bristol. So that's what I'm going to leave it at for the NASCAR Xfinity Series for now. I want to keep it pretty light in general because I want to enjoy watching Dale Earnhardt Jr. race for what he's kind of hinted at the final time in NASCAR competition. But there's a few things I like, and you just heard them. So once again, join the Dalescenter NASCAR Discord to never miss a bet, regardless if it's trucks, Xfinity, or Cup. Let's move on to the Cup Series. We got a lot to talk about here with the Bass Pro Shops night race. Lines at the bottom of your screen, courtesy of DraftKings Sportsbook. But I'm going to go ahead and tell you right now, if you want to bet on the Toyotas, if you want to bet on Denny Hamlin and Christopher Bell and Ty Gibbs, your best place to go is FanDuel. FanDuel has better lines. You can get Denny Hamlin 5-1, Bell 7-1, and Gibbs 11-1. Last time I checked. So there is a world where I bet on all three of these guys. All they've done in the past 2 years, or spring this year, fall last year, have gobbled up the laps. I mean, Ty Gibbs, Christopher Bell, Denny Hamlin have led so many laps. Denny Hamlin's won 2 in a row, but Ty Gibbs has led 100 laps in 2 consecutive Bristol races on concrete. Christopher Bell, God, I mean, I don't know how many laps he's led. He led a shit ton of laps in 2022, probably was in line to win before a tire failure that plagued everybody in the field on that night. Last year led a bunch of laps, had a bad pit stop somewhere midway in the race. Denny Hamlin, Ty Gibbs leapfrogged him. He ran around the top 5, but was never able to get back up front. Now, what I hope in this race, and what we all hope relative to the race last year, is that we get substantial tire wear. What we had in the spring, while it was crazy and unpredictable, even though a predictable guy won, just unreal tire wear, the insane tire degradation that we experienced was phenomenal for the quality of racing and phenomenal for the drivers and having to manage something other than getting creative on pit road and trying to discover ways to get track position without passing on track, because passing is so difficult in this car. We saw it. Go back and watch this race in 2023. Incredibly difficult to pass. 2024 was a totally different story because you actually allowed some variance in driver management. So I hope we get something close to that. I know you do too. Now, we don't want blowouts repeatedly, but we do want there to be some tire management in the cockpit of the race cars, because it will separate the best from the worst, and it will make sure that there's no luck in track position games. Right now, strategy could still be fun. It could still be a great element. And when you decide to pit, short pitting, waiting and pitting, it could all still work out where it's a very exciting race that is very, very layered in depth. So I don't know what's going to happen. I think under night conditions, this same tire that they're bringing back, I feel like the wear will not be as extreme, but I don't know. I mean, Goodyear is all over the place with the tires. We thought, based upon practice, based upon testing, that we were going to go to Watkins Glen and have severe tire fall off. And we did not. Really, the only way people or drivers were passing was if they were on different strategies. So they kind of laid an egg on that. Hopefully that'll be different this weekend on Saturday night. But keep an eye on practice and qualifying as well. I expect the Gibbs cars to be the best once again. I mean, in the Gen 7 era, they've had the best equipment at Bristol. 2022, you go back and say, well, Chris Buescher won. Few of the Toyotas DNF'd. Well, all their cars were falling apart, which was crazy. In 2022, you guys remember the amount of mechanical issues that Toyota had? They had them here at Bristol. And it took out Truex. I think it took out Gibbs. It took out 2311. I think it was Bubba Wallace or Kurt Busch. No, it would have been Kurt at that time. He had gotten hurt. But I think Denny Hamlin maybe was taken out by it. So 2022, they had great race cars, but mechanical issues took them out of contention outside of Christopher Bell, who probably should have won the race, if not the tire issues that was plaguing everybody. I mean, it was a chaotic 2022 race. There's so many elements that I don't think we'll see on Saturday night. You have a normal Bristol race, or you have an unpredictable Bristol race when it comes to tire management, and you get the same result. Toyota is on top. So I think Denny Hamlin at 5-1 via FanDuel could be worth a bet. I'm curious to see where he qualifies. I expect him to qualify in the top 10. Same thing with Christopher Bell. Maybe with Ty Gibbs as well. He qualified 19th in the spring. So I don't know. It's tough to see. It's tough to navigate whether or not you should wait on some of these guys. Denny Hamlin could be worth waiting on. I doubt he gets lower than 4-1. So FanDuel is 5-1. If he qualifies on the poll, qualifies in the top 5. I think there will be a sports book that offers Denny Hamlin at 4-1. Christopher Bell, kind of been hot and cold in qualifying. Maybe you can wait on Bell. Ty Gibbs is the guy you got to be careful with, because Ty Gibbs, you're seeing him at 10-1, 11-1 range. If he qualifies well, if he qualifies on the pole or in the top 5, he'll probably have some pretty good line movement. So maybe bet Ty Gibbs now, wait and see what happens with Bell and Denny Hamlin. Now I want to talk about RFK. Obviously the playoff conversation is about Brad Keselowski. It's about Denny Hamlin, who could bump out, who could bump in. I think Brad Keselowski, his price sitting around 12-1, 11-1 on most books is bettable for sure. Another guy that has not been great at qualifying, though, very inconsistent, has qualified well here in the past, but in general throughout 2024, qualifying has not been their strong suit. So Brad Keselowski could be a guy that you could wait on. Maybe get better 16-1 range. Him and Chris Buescher, I like the idea of betting on because they have been awesome in the races at Bristol. Chris Buescher's got 3 straight top 10s. Brad Keselowski, 2 out of 3 in the top 10 in the Gen 7 era, has led laps. When Christopher Bell blew a tire, he was in position to win this race, actually, fall of 2022, and then he blew a tire. So Brad Keselowski's had speed. 2024 has been a better year overall until we've gotten into the playoffs, where he finds himself below the cut line. But he is extremely bettable at his price. And one thing I want to think about here, let's stay in the Ford camp for a moment. I think you can find value in a few guys for 2 reasons. RFK is very, very, I don't want to say overvalued, because they've been the best Ford program easily at this racetrack in the Gen 7 era. You look at DraftKings, look at Top Ford, they're plus 250, plus 300. Brad Keselowski, Chris Buescher, respectively, to be the top Ford. The second element here is Penske has really, really struggled at Bristol since the beginning of the Gen 7 era. And their struggles go a little bit further than that, too, with Logano and Blaney. Now, Logano, Blaney, at times have had good race cars in the past 4 or 5 years and have been wrecked out. Blaney had a really good car. I think had the best car spring of 2020 or spring of 2019, crashed. Has been involved in quite a few accidents. Joey Logano was probably going to win this race 2020 when Chase Elliott went full send, put him up into the wall. Brad Keselowski wins. So that kind of skews a little bit. But when you move into the Gen 7 era since 2022, Joey Logano, Ryan Blaney have just not been good here. They have not been good at this racetrack. So that opens the door for betting on RFK because they have been consistent. They feel like locks, if you will. They feel like locks to be good. You can get both Brad Keselowski and Chris Buescher plus money for a top 5. So that could be worth a bet. And then because of that, you have options at someone like Ryan Preece, 40-1 top Ford. Ryan Preece has been pretty good here. Now, SHR as a whole has not been great, but Ryan Preece, top Ford, maybe a top 10 bet on Ryan Preece could be good value. Josh Berry, 30-1 outright, 25-1 outright. I think top Ford, he's trending around 8-1. If RFK makes mistakes, Brad Keselowski has been mistake prone. I mean, we've seen it throughout this year, last year, whether it's road courses, super speedways, mile and a halves, he does make mistakes. So when I talk about RFK betting them top 5, you get plus money on both of them. Maybe lean in Chris Buescher. You'll probably get a better price there. And Chris Buescher is not a big mistake guy. Brad Keselowski is. And when you look at just the top Ford market, I'd mentioned Ryan Preece, Josh Berry, who's a short track ace. If you get some tire management that like we saw in the spring, could open the door for Josh Berry now that he's got almost a full year of cup racing under his belt. Josh Berry could be a threat. Stewart-Haas has qualified well here in the past. So you give someone like Josh Berry track position, good race car, he could be tough to beat if his pit crew doesn't kill him. So I'm kind of thinking, those two angles with value on Berry, Preece, and then Michael McDowell. Michael McDowell came here last year and had an awesome race car. I think he finished P6, ran around the top 5 a lot of the race, ran well in the spring as well in 2024. Michael McDowell has had 2 good Bristol races in a row in 2 completely different situations. So Michael McDowell could be a good play at top Ford. I think he's sitting around 38, 40-1. Pull that up real quick and verify this. Oh, he's had some movement. Okay. Michael McDowell via DraftKings, 25-1 top Ford. Josh Berry on DraftKings, 9-1 top Ford. Ryan Preece on DraftKings, 45-1 top Ford. Everybody loves underdog bets. I talk about RFK. They're probably going to be the best, but you never know what could happen with the calamity and chaos at Bristol. Brad Keselowski makes mistakes. Chris Buescher hasn't exactly had the best year. While I think they will have the best cars in the Ford fleet, there's an opportunity there to bet on these 3 guys as underdog plays in the Ford category with track record, short track ability, and with Michael McDowell, you have 2 different situations where he finished well with a race where nobody could pass and a race with tire management where everything was crazy and chaotic. So 3 guys outside of RFK that I think could be good plays this weekend. I think Team Penske, like I said, they just have not been good here. They have not been good here in the Gen 7 era. They've been on the struggle bus at Bristol, which is weird because they've been good at the majority of other short tracks on the schedule. Whatever it is with their program, it has just not been great at Bristol. That opens up the door to look at RFK, and it opens up the door to look at some underdogs in the Ford program. When we look at top 10, Michael McDowell, 3-1 top 10. I don't love that. Ryan Preece, 5-1 top 10. Don't love that. Might have to check FanDuel because FanDuel typically gives us the best top 10 lines, which I'm going to check right now. FanDuel top 10 for said drivers here. Michael McDowell, 3-1 there still. Ryan Preece, 5-1. It's exactly the same. That's crazy. One thing I hate about this week, the books have definitely cracked down on top 10s. Now that can change after qualifying. Keep an eye on the top 10 lines after qualifying. If they feel like they see big time separation in the field, you could see some better lines in top 10. If somebody wrecks in qualifying, wrecks in practice, or makes a mistake, starting dead last, maybe you get a better line on one of those guys. And you got to hope that we'll be able to pass, because you start Bristol. If you qualify dead last or right next to last, you're going to start Bristol half a lap down already. So got to hope they can make some moves if something like that were to happen in qualifying. But I digress on the Ford camp. Just some thoughts. The top Ford thing really speaks to me because of the Penske struggles. Brad Keselowski. Oh, wow. Okay. Timeout. I just missed this. Chris Buescher is plus 450 top Ford now. When I looked at this yesterday, I'm pretty sure Brad K was plus 250 and he was plus 300. Now Buescher's plus 450. So that just validated how I feel about this entire strategy. If you think Brad Keselowski gonna have a good car, potentially run up front, makes a mistake, then the door is wide open. I would take Buescher plus 450 top Ford, and then I'd take McDowell, Barry, and Ryan Preece. I'd take all four of them. I'd take all four of them and bank on Brad K making a mistake. So that's a big line movement via DraftKings. Typically, BetMGM is the best with manufacturer odds. From my experience, at this time, they don't have manufacturer odds, at least in BetMGM Mississippi. So waiting on that to unload. By the time you watch this, I think they should have them out, but to be determined. Some other drivers we're looking at here for the Cup Series. I want to talk about Chase Elliott. Chase Elliott, most sportsbooks trending around 20-1. Chase Elliott has a great Bristol resume. He hasn't won here, but he is a top 10 machine. Probably should have won here in 2021, the famous battle with him and Harvick that overflowed into the post-race. Kyle Larson ended up winning that race. But Chase Elliott, outside of that race where he had to pit, basically from second place, finished like 23rd, top 10 machine. He did win the All-Star race here that they had in 2020 with the fucked up number pushback. But every other race in like the past 4 years outside of 2021, where he finished 23rd, has been top 10 or top 5. Very, very sneaky play. Chase Elliott could be a contender on Saturday night. 20-1 is a good line for a guy that is running consistently well at this racetrack. I used the same concept with Chris Buescher last week. Chris Buescher has not won on a road course before last week. Chris Buescher had not won on a road course, but he had just performed amazing just from a consistency standpoint, constantly running top 10, running around the top 5, not really leading laps, but just being there. And I'm a believer that guys that just consistently run well and are there at the end eventually will break through. You run as well as Chase Elliott has run at Bristol, eventually you're going to win. You run as well as Chris Buescher has run on road courses, eventually you're going to win. So I like Chase Elliott right off the bat as a guy in the Chevy camp at that price, 20-1. Another thing to stack, 2 more bets to stack with that I might throw down. Plus money top 10. Or I'm sorry, nope, not plus money. The bet's not available at the moment. See, we've had some line movement. I saw minus 115 for a top 10 on Chase Elliott not even 12 hours ago. Now I see minus 150. FanDuel looks like they're going to be the same. That sucks. I guess one thing you could say, Chase Elliott has not been great at qualifying. Maybe he doesn't qualify in the top 10. Maybe get a better line on top 10, minus 110, minus 115. Where it was, I think, is an awesome bet. If you can get close to an even money top 10, that's a good bet for Chase Elliott. That's good value for a guy that consistently runs top 10 at Bristol. And the other bet to stack with that, head-to-head matchup, Chase Elliott and Ryan Blaney. Someone explain this to me. Ryan Blaney in the Gen 7 era has really, really struggled at Bristol. I've already talked about it with Penske. I don't know what it is. They just don't run well. Ryan Blaney is a favorite in a head-to-head matchup over Chase Elliott at -125. Give me Chase Elliott in that matchup easily. Give me Chase Elliott. -110, -105, don't care. You're going to give Chase Elliott, guy that runs so well at Bristol, has a much better resume here than Ryan Blaney. Going to give me Chase Elliott as the underdog in that head-to-head matchup. I'm taking Chase all day. I'm not a huge matchup guy, but there's quite a few that have stuck out to me this weekend, and that is one of them. I already gave you the Truck Series one. Love this one for the Cup race. Chase Elliott over Ryan Blaney. I'd take that right now before practice, before qualifying. Don't care. You could even wait because Penske has qualified okay here. Chase Elliott has not. So you get Ryan Blaney qualifies way better. Maybe they reload this matchup and you get plus money. So you could consider that as well. I'd bet it right now. I think it's an awesome bet. And then similar concept, William Byron versus Tyler Reddick. Tyler Reddick has struggled so bad at this racetrack. He's got one top 5 that was back with RCR, and then everything else has been a struggle, especially for Tyler Reddick's standards. A guy that's coming into his prime with 2311, a formidable championship threat. He just has not been good here. 2311 in particular, you know, we talk about Toyota. Gibbs has been awesome here, but 2311 has not been great at Bristol over the past couple of years. So William Byron over Tyler Reddick, -125. Byron is a slight favorite on DraftKings. I believe this matchup is also on BetMGM. I'm going to pull BetMGM up real quick. Ooh, BetMGM has positionals now. Okay, good. There it is. Reddick, Byron. BetMGM has the best price between the two books. -115, William Byron over Tyler Reddick. Love that bet. William Byron has not been a winning contender at Bristol, but similar to Chase Elliott, has had a lot of good runs. Running top 5, running top 10. Love that bet. Give me William Byron over Tyler Reddick and give me Chase Elliott over Ryan Blaney. I'm going to look at BetMGM's positionals here. Give me that top 10. Let's see. Chase Elliott -140, top 10 on BetMGM. That is bettable. I think that you could consider that. Not what I wanted. MGM has also kind of saturated the top 10s like the other books have, which is disappointing, but expected. I was hoping we'd get something better in the top 10 market for some of these guys, but that is not the case. As I go through here, one other bet. Talking about underdogs, back to the underdog game here. Carson Hocevar. Check out BetMGM. Big discrepancy here. I'm going to check FanDuel to see if it's the same or at least close. We're going to look at Carson Hocevar for a top 5. Carson Hocevar came here in a legacy motor club race car last year. Ran around the top 5 most of the night and finished in the top 10. I think he finished 9th. In a legacy car, P9. And that was on very little experience. I don't know how many starts he had made in the Cup Series. Not very many. But he came here and ran top 10 in the night race. So, FanDuel has Carson Hocevar top 5, 15-1. He finished 3rd last week at Watkins Glen. Great run. A lot of momentum for Spire right now. He's 12-1 for a top 5 on DraftKings Sportsbook. And on BetMGM, at the time of recording, he is 22-1 for a top 5. Love that. 22-1. I don't think that's going to stay. Carson Hocevar, good qualifier, good racer. I think that's a line that could move closer to where it is on DraftKings and FanDuel before we take the green flag on Saturday night. So if you have BetMGM, check that out. And I got one more bet on back. I'm circling back to the Toyotas here. Some people would probably ask if you had to pick, if you just had to pick one of the Toyota guys we've talked about, between Hamlin, Bell, Ty Gibbs, who would you pick if you had to pick one? Honestly, I probably would pick Christopher Bell. You know, we talk about Chase Elliott. We talk about guys that run consistently, and that build of consistency ends up translating into a win at some point. Christopher Bell, the amount of laps that he leads here at Bristol, the amount of laps he's led in the Gen 7 era, this is in his wheelhouse. If he didn't have a bad pit stop last year in the middle of the race, he probably wins in fall of 2023. So when I look at everything between Gibbs, Hamlin, Bell, I'm probably going to bet on all three. Toyota's just been unbelievable here. Looking at all three, if there's one I had to pick, it'd be Christopher Bell. Denny Hamlin kind of has some bad juju around him right now. You know, some people get concerned when he gets kind of cocky, when he gets into this calling a shot type of thing on his podcast and his interviews. I think he's going to be running up front. I think he's going to be a threat. Similar to kind of what I said about Brad Keselowski, Denny Hamlin makes a lot of mistakes. And that's all it's been in the playoffs is mistake after mistake in the past two races and even further back than that. So Christopher Bell, he's my pick to win the championship. If you watch my live streams on Kick, I've said that multiple times. I don't know if I've put it on Twitter or not, but Christopher Bell is my guy to win the title. And on Bet Rivers, Canby Books, plus 105 for a top five. That could be a major max play. Now we'll see what happens in qualifying. There's a chance he doesn't qualify super well. Maybe you get a better line. But I think Christopher Bell, plus money for a top five, you cannot go wrong with that. 7-1 outright on FanDuel, probably out of everybody and in the Toyota camp is my favorite bet or bets right there. 7-1 outright, plus money top five, Christopher Bell. I think out of the Toyota camp, he's my guy. But I'm probably going to bet on all three. And that, because I can't, you know. Qualifying will be interesting too. Do we have qualifying odds up yet? Maybe on Caesars. I don't use Caesars anymore. What are we doing? Why is this not loading? Cup Series. All right. Well, it's not loading right now. I'd keep an eye on Twitter at Dale Tanhart and in the Discord, as I've reiterated. You will not miss a bet if you're in the Discord. And I always post my qualifying bets on social media, on Twitter or on my Instagram story, typically a couple hours before practice and qualifying starts. So keep an eye on that. If we get some odds for qualifying, I think I'll be betting on it just for, I guess, some advice leading into. The odds make a difference on who I'm betting on, right? But SHR, while they've kind of struggled in the race at Bristol over the past couple of years, they have qualified really well. And their short track program qualified really well in general. So I'm keeping an eye on SHR. Ryan Blaney did win the pole here in the spring. I don't think he goes back-to-back on qualifying on the pole position. I'd keep an eye on Ty Gibbs. I'd keep an eye on Christopher Bell, maybe Denny Hamlin. All three of those guys are very capable of winning the pole. William Byron, feel like he's kind of due for a pole. He's a guy that always, it seems, qualifies well, regardless of what style of racetrack. Seems like every now and then he'll pop up and win a pole. So keep an eye on that. And then maybe a couple of the SHR guys. Josh Berry has had some moments in qualifying. Chase Briscoe's had some moments in qualifying. Those two guys in particular in the SHR camp I'd look at for qualifying bets. I'd estimate that Josh Berry, Chase Briscoe would be 10-1 and 15-1 to win the pole, respectively. So those, to me, would be worth a bet if you're into betting on qualifying. So I don't see lines yet. I'm going to pull up Caesars and just see if they've loaded anything up yet. But it's still relatively early in the week for when they get everything up at the time that I'm recording this. So I wouldn't be surprised if they're not up yet. I don't use Caesars, but we can use them as a benchmark if they have odds up for qualifying. And they do not. They do not. Nope. All right, so we're still waiting on qualifying odds, but I feel like I've gone over a lot of different bets that I like, given some advice ahead of the weekend. Talk about tire wear. I don't think the wear will be as extreme as it was in the spring, but you never know. Got to keep an eye on practice and qualifying. It will be a great indicator of what might happen with the tire wear on Saturday night. And with practice, we've got 2 extended sessions. We've got long sessions. Or I think it might be one. I think it's one 45-minute session for everybody to hit the track. And that's fantastic. That is a dream for NASCAR bettors. Seriously, because you have a huge sample size to actually predict what the race might look like. When we get these little 20-minute sessions, it is just nothing. It's just not enough. You know, you learn about a car having fire off speed, and then your averages in a long run are very, very skewed and inconsistent. So it's always great when we get these longer practice sessions for races that have some potentially unknown elements, some uncertainty. Very, very important. So keep an eye on practice, especially long run data will be important, especially now that they're running a practice session where everybody's running at the same time. Now you don't have to worry about heat difference in the racetrack between Group A and Group B. Everybody's running at once. I think. I'm going to fucking verify this because I'm going to feel like an idiot if I was wrong. We're looking at Bob Pockrass to make sure. We know Bob has it. There it is. Friday practice, 2 p.m. Eastern time, 45 minutes, all cars. What a dream. What a dream. That is exactly what we need. So I'm really excited for that. I'm really excited for that. So if you want to tread lightly in your bets before, not a bad idea, because you're going to have a massive sample size of long run speed indication when you get to practice, which is just great. And we had this somewhat at Watkins Glen. They did 2 different groups, but that long practice, honestly, and I talked about it on Dalescenter, I broke it down. It helps me pick Chris Buescher because I noticed between his 5-lap average and his 10-lap average, which is nothing at Bristol, but for a road course, that's a pretty good set of consecutive laps. And between his 5-lap average and his 10-lap average, he had minimal fall off. And I talked about it when I broke it down on Sunday morning. It helped me pick him. And we're going to get an even better indication on Saturday for the Cup race. So very excited for that. Be sure to follow everything at Dale Tanhart for everything betting related, content related. It's going to be a fun weekend of racing all around between trucks, Xfinity Cups. Good luck on your bets. Follow everything at Dale Tanhart. And you won't miss a bet. You won't miss content. You won't miss the greatness that is me, Dale Tanhart. NASCAR fandom, NASCAR betting, NASCAR degeneracy. I do it all. iRacing, we do it all. I've been getting wrecked in iRacing all week long. Very, very good at that too. But follow everything at Dale Tanhart. Don't miss a beat. And good luck on your bets. I'll have full betting cards out before each green flag as they come out Thursday night, Friday night, and Saturday night. Thank you for watching. If I help you win some money, please come back, like, share, subscribe. You know the whole deal on YouTube. Appreciate you guys. We'll be back next week. Good luck on your bets and enjoy the Bristol night racing this weekend.